What is up, guys, and welcome back to today's video. We're doing a oil change on my new Cub Cadet XT1. It has the 5400 series single cylinder Kohler engine in it. So I will walk you guys through what you need, the process of it, and a couple little other maintenance things at the 5-hour break-in period. So we're right at 5.1 hours on this hours meter on this mower here, so that's what they recommend, in between 5 and 10 hours to do your first oil change, get the break-in oil out and put a good conventional oil in. So today here I've got a Shell Rotella. It's the T4 and it is a SAE 10W30. So they recommend 10W30 in these Kohler engines, and they honestly, like all manufacturers do, recommend their own brand of oil. I've done a lot of research on this when I got it, and I know that this Shell Rotella is like a heavy-duty diesel engine oil. But with here, they've talked about like the high zinc levels in these, and that they will be better for these air-cooled engines since they kind of run at a hotter temperature. And I know that this here is a good oil itself. Again, I've gone against the manufacturer recommendations and got a different filter besides the Kohler filter. So I would honestly trust a Fram better than I would a Kohler. Nothing against the Kohler, but these are honestly cheaper. I picked this up for like $6 to where the Kohler Pro filter was like $12.99. And so this is a really good looking Fram filter here that I picked up, and the part number on it is PH7575. And actually when it rung up on my receipt, it rung up as a Kohler oil filter. So I guess this is what Fram does here. I've got 2 quarts of the Shell Rotella T4 10W30 that we're going to put in there, and follow along and I'll show you guys how it's done. The first thing we're going to do here, guys, is start the engine and get it warm. That way we have not hot but warm oil in the engine. It'll flow through better and get things going, so we can completely drain the crankcase and get our new fresh oil in there and clean. So guys, we have let this warm up for about 5 minutes now. So the engine is kind of warm to the touch, so the oil should be warm in there. Give you a little rundown on the things you're going to need. So I grab a couple microfibers because they're like stuff that I use, that they're old and used, but they seem to soak up oil pretty good, because you are going to spill something. I've got 2 different kinds of oil filter wrenches. So this is what I would call almost like the conventional type of oil filter wrench. That's like the collapsible kind that doesn't really matter what size it is. And then I've got these for ones that are in hard places to get, or you've got a filter that's really tight and won't come off. They're almost like a channel lock type that are like a big kind of plier that you can get on there and change these over. And then you've got your provided engine oil drain tube that should come with your owner's manual. I've got a small funnel, a roll of towels, and then I like to use as a drain pan is just a clear plastic tote. You can pick these up anywhere. They're usually cheaper than drain pans. They're usually bigger. They'll say what size they are on here. This is a 12 quart on here. So you can pull the lid off of these, set them underneath, and then you've honestly also got the lid for a little bit of protection for like oil splatter and those kind of things. Don't have to use these, just my preference. But we will go ahead and get the oil tube put on, get the oil drained out, and then try to grab the filter off of here. So we're here, we've got our drain pan placed underneath the mower, and then so we take this little cap off of this. They've got a really nice kind of like easy access drain plug right here. You pull this little cap off, then you'll go ahead and insert this tube on here so it'll drain right into the pan. So that just slides on. Make sure this stays close to the end of the pan. Then you push. And you pull out on that, and you'll start to see the oil drain out of here. So really for 5 hours on this, they weren't super really hard run 5 hours. I've mowed, I would say, a handful, half a dozen times maybe already this year. Alright, so we're all set up here to take the filter off while this stuff is draining. I've got a towel thrown down here between the engine and the frame and kind of thrown over this little steering linkage here so it doesn't get on anything. The only thing you have in the way is what looks like a vacuum hose and then a fuel line runs to the carburetor. So you'll just have to kind of go underneath those and kind of lift those things up. I've got the channel lock style, like plier style filter wrench on here. So we'll go ahead and clamp onto here. Try to get this filter pulled off. Make sure you get it to where you can get the most rotation out of here and not get the end stuck against the motor. Once you crack this thing loose, a couple half turns, you should be able to thread it off by hand at that point. Take that, dump it straight down into the bucket, and keep on going. So we'll take this and we'll clean kind of up around in this filter area. Make sure there's no dirt and debris on here. And then when you do take your filter off, make sure the little rubber O-ring comes off with it and you don't keep it on there. So make sure that the filter you take off has one on it, or you take it off and then make sure when you put the new filter on that it also has an O-ring on it, because you will not get a good tight seal and you'll be spraying oil all over the place. Alright, so we have got the filter off and the oil drained. So then the next thing we will do, cover the end of that, push this back in, turn it to the right, pull the drain tube off, get all the excess oil off of it, and wipe a little bit off of here. Then you'll be able to put the cap back on. Next on the list here, we've got the new filter ready to go. I have already tested it and kind of halfway screwed it up on there to make sure it threaded on, just to make sure that this is the correct filter. So then I will take one of these new quarts of oil, I'll start to fill this filter up before I put it on, eliminate the fact for a dry start. So I've got it most of the way filled up and it's soaking in, so you can put a lot of oil in there, but they will soak in all the little baffles. This box. So take what little bit of oil is there, kind of put up around this O-ring for a proper seal. Don't spill it all over the side. Okay, so once you have that O-ring lubricated, it is ready to go up on the oil pickup here. And these Fram filters are nice because they do have the little grip on the bottom of them where you can actually get them pretty tight. And I will only hand tighten this filter. Should be tight enough. And then we're ready to start putting oil back in this engine. So we've now got the dipstick out. So you'll take our nice new clean funnel and we'll put it inside of here. And the fill capacity on this thing is around 2 quarts. You might not use all 2. So when you get close to the second one, start checking the level, and then after you run it, check it again. You will start. We're just over 1.5 quarts in, but I have not started this thing yet, so we'll go ahead and start it, let the filter fill up with oil, and then we'll go ahead and check the level again and top it off with the remainder of that 2 quart. So So we're done with the oil change. We are just shy of using that full 2 quarts, and it says it's full, so I'll run it one time mowing, and then I'll check it once again. But I've got the air box pulled off of this thing so we can shake the air cleaner out. I don't really think it needs one replaced right yet, but we'll go ahead and take that one off and clean it out and put it back on there. So after we pulled the filter off, it's got this little green sleeve over it, and I've just kind of like smacked it, you know, up against my hand and got all the dust off of it. The filter itself is really clean, and the inside of the filter, so we won't have to change that for a minute. So that just slides back on like this, and it slides really easy back on there. And you've got this housing here, goes on, and you turn it to the left, turn it to the left. It's got a little icon on there, and now the air filter is done. The last thing I'm going to do on this little 5-hour maintenance deal is check the grease fittings on the front end here. So there's one in the wheel, and then there's one in that spindle there. So I'll go ahead and clean this grease fitting off. This is a little plastic fitting here, so you have to be careful with that one. The other one is actually a press-in or a screw-in metal fitting. There it is. And it was full. Now to wipe off the excess and go on to the next one. Made it this far along. We've finished this oil change and 5-hour service on this mower. We've changed the oil, the filter, cleaned the air cleaner, and greased all the fittings on the front end here. So if you've made it this far along, we appreciate you. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment below, and hit that subscribe button and help us grow this channel a little bit. One other thing that it's not super maintenance related to this, but it's something I've done with this mower since the day I bought it, is I run ethanol-free fuel in this mower. So with these carbureted engines, I think it's a lot better to run the ethanol-free. Here on the fuel cap it says unleaded fuel only, max 10% ethanol and no E85, but that's just the max that it'll do. So I pay a little bit more per gallon, maybe 30 or 50 cents more, but I do put the ethanol free in here. It seems to run better, it seems to start better, and just all around a better fuel. They recommend it for like boats and small engines and things like that, just because the seals in the carburetors are not good with the alcohol and the ethanol in these fuels. So I think it's a good plus. You're not using that much fuel in these lawnmowers unless you're mowing a huge yard, and I don't. So I think it's just one of those things. It's just a couple dollars more on each time you fill your fuel can up, but I think it's something that's going to pay off dividends in the long run. So thank you guys for following along with us today. Hopefully you found some use in this video and you can now do an oil change on your Cub Cadet. I will put a link in the description of all the products I used in this and all the fill capacities and things like that. And hopefully we will catch you guys on the next one, and see you later.